What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, we're going to talk about the New York Giants' arch rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that I cannot stand. Now, of course, a lot of Giants fans may argue that it's the Dallas Cowboys, but we're going to talk about the injury to Brandon Brooks and how it may affect the NFC East. Of course, Brandon Brooks is a phenomenal talent, and I would never wish an injury on anybody or on any team. But, of course, this will change the landscape of the division. In case you haven't heard, Brandon Brooks is out for the year with a torn ACL. Now, how does that affect the New York Giants? Well, I definitely would think that it would give us a much higher probability of getting at least the season split against the Eagles this year. Brandon Brooks, one of the most important players on that football team, and a lot of Eagles fans were definitely very optimistic going into this season after what Carson Wentz was able to do last year with limited weapons. Well, I think this will definitely change the thought process of their team going in. Now, how will the Eagles respond to this? Well, we'll have to wait and see what they do, whether they look to acquire somebody in free agency, make a trade, or just promote somebody from within the roster. They also have Dillard, who will be, for the first time, a full-time starter day one for the Eagles last year. So he's going to have to get up to speed in terms of familiarity. Last year, Jason Peters was the starter. They moved on from him. I know Dillard got some experience last year as well, but we'll have to wait and see how he does stepping in. But this will not be easy to replace Brandon Brooks. And each of the last two seasons going in, the Eagles and the Cowboys were, far and away the favorites going in. Everybody forgets the year before that, even though the Giants went 3-13, they were the favorite to win the division, coming off an 11-5 season and the acquisition of Brandon Marshall, and they severely disappointed. The Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl, but last year going in, I think everybody knew the class of this division was the Cowboys and the Eagles. Both teams disappointed. Going in, and everybody told you the Eagles were going 13-3. The Cowboys were Super Bowl contenders. Neither team did very well. The Eagles snuck in at 9-7. This year, I think Eagles fans were optimistic and thinking that they could, maybe progress after they brought in some good weapons in the wide receiving core. Maybe Deshaun Jackson stays healthy. But one thing I've continued to say this entire offseason about the Philadelphia Eagles, and credit to OGR as well, who's got a great channel, the Eagles lack depth. They probably have the strongest 22-man roster in the league, meaning starting offense and defense, but they lost a lot of depth pieces to free agency, and now Brandon Brooks, one of their 4 or 5 most important players on this football team, goes down with a torn ACL, and everybody knows they have an injury-prone quarterback. Now, some Eagles fans will tell you that it's a fluke, that he's had 2 injuries. Back injuries usually aren't. It's usually something that lingers throughout the course of your career. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but the fact he's going to be missing his Pro Bowl guard, who had a 93 PFF grade last year, is certainly not going to help Carson Wentz, and it's certainly not going to help the running game. We'll have to wait and see how the Eagles respond to this. But I think at this point in time, the Dallas Cowboys are the clear-cut favorite right now to win the division. Now, of course, the Cowboys have problems of their own. They brought in Tyler Biadasz to replace Travis Frederick, but you don't know how he's going to do in year one if he is even the starter. There's a reason that he dropped in the draft, because he has injury concerns. So here's my thought process in terms of the offensive lines in the NFC East. I will not go as far to say that the New York Giants have the best offensive line in this division at all right now. That still belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to tell you right now, by next year in 2021, if Andrew Thomas evolves into what we think he's going to be, and Hernandez takes a big step up, which I think a lot of Giants fans think he will do, next to Andrew Thomas, and Matt Parrott, a guy that we got in the 3rd round that I think a lot of us like, next to Zeitler, one of the better guards in the league, depending on what they do in the draft next year, the New York Giants are setting themselves up to have the best offensive line in this division for quite some time. It won't happen this year, but we're starting to build that way, and that would be nice to get back to New York Giants football. As far as the Eagles go with Brooks, this is a tough break for them before the year even starts. You got 2 months now to, try to find a replacement and make it work, but it will not be easy to replace a player of that caliber. Like I said, 3 straight Pro Bowls with a PFF grade of 93, one of the best guards in the NFL. This is a tough break for Eagles fans, and it completely will change the landscape of the NFC East. I expect the Cowboys to be the far and away favorites, but you don't know, man. That's why they play the games. We'll have to wait and see how the Cowboys adjust to the new coaching staff and whether or not that offensive line is in sync. I think we all remember 2 years ago, before Mark Colombo took over, when Travis Frederick was out for the year, the Cowboys' offensive line over the first half of that season struggled mightily. Frederick came back last year. They were second in run blocking, second in pass blocking. Well, they lost Frederick. They lost Colombo. We'll have to wait and see how the Cowboys, even though they do still have a very talented offensive line, do this year in terms of that aspect. Of course, they still have a questionable secondary. I'm not going to go as far to say that the New York Giants are making the playoffs after this injury, but it certainly opens up the possibility of the New York Giants maybe competing a little more in this division and maybe stealing a game or two here against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up.